Hey guys, how you doing? Today I'm going to start on removing my clutch and doing a video removing the clutch and replacing the clutch. This isn't necessarily going to be about the clutch. I don't think there's too much wrong with my clutch, so hopefully I've got stacks of wear on it still and I can just put it back on. However, we'll see that I'll make that determination when I get the clutch out. The real reason I'm wanting to do to take the clutch out, the bell housing off, is because that there is called a sandwich plate, and it's the area between the bell housing, as you can see here, and the block. Now, if I try and move the camera in a better position, I'll put a bit of light there. Where are we? So there's a gasket, and there it is there, you can clearly see that gasket there. So that's the sandwich plate, and that there is the bell housing, and then there's the block on the other side of this plate. However, there's a gasket here, and the gasket's between the block and the sandwich plate. Sorry, that's the block there, that's the sandwich plate. Sorry, and then there's the bell housing. So the bell housing doesn't have a gasket there, okay? Generally speaking, the bell housing doesn't even have any gasket goo or anything, except for the bottom corner where the gearbox oil is present. But anyway, that's for later on. So that's the job, is to get that off and remove the gasket and replace the gasket. So I'm getting a leak, you can see there. Once again, I'm trying to use my pointer because it's difficult to get to. Once again, that dark line right there at the tip of my pointer, yeah, that's where I'm getting the leak. I did do a video not long ago replacing my oil pressure sender unit right there. And I thought I just simply hadn't, because that's where the leak was coming, on that flat plate right there. I thought the leak was coming just from me not having my not having that done up tight enough, the sender unit tight enough, and it's a real bugger to get into, I must admit. But on further investigation, I was noticing under pressure, and especially when I accelerated, just while the car was sitting still, when I just moved the throttle, I noticed the oil would build up along that line, and it has to be seeping from from that gasket there. It was seeping at the top there, just below the oil sender unit. I've eliminated that it's not the sender unit, it is that gasket. Bummer, because it's a really big job. I've not done a clutch before. There's a couple of forums out there, so you can sort of get a lot of info on how to do this, but I'm just going to do a video for my channel. And also it's just good to film things, because then you know how to put things back together as well. It looks fairly straightforward, it's just a big job. The only bit of information I don't really have is the sandwich plate. I've never taken a sandwich plate off. I've taken bell housings off before, not necessarily on 308 engines, but it's a bell housing. But the sandwich plate I've never taken off before on the Ferrari, obviously. A little bit daunting, because I'm leading into the internals of the engine, and obviously the crank attaches to that. So I'm just going to suss that out. The only bit of tech spec I don't have is the Torx for the actual bolts that are inside. So basically behind the flywheel on that separation plate or sandwich plate, whichever you want to call it. So I have to find that out first. I've got Torx for everything else, but not that. Tools are sort of a minimum. You don't really need a lot of tools. One important tool you're going to need, it's the RN tool. If I go to my little tray here, I purchased one of these a while ago, but it's this one here. I believe it's, there you can see, RTH RNT, I should say. What am I reading? 45, and so that's 45 mil. And it's from Hill Engineering. I got these from Superformance. I've got another one for the rear wheel hub as well, because you need one to take off the rear wheel hub if you ever want to do the bearings, the rear wheels. And also I've got one for the oil filter. I was taking a filter off the other day with one of these, just a normal UFI filter, and I was using one of these and I was doing it cold, and believe it or not, even with the filter on hand tight and with this, it was so tight that this actually slipped on the filter and rounded the top of the filter off. That's how tight these filters get, and that was by putting it on hand tight. So I've finally come to the decision to not try and remove oil filters off the Ferrari unless they are hot, because that just blew me away. But anyhow, I will need that one out, so I'll put him there. Okay, well, I'll get into it. I'll get back to you. Hey guys, I'm back. Okay, so jack the car up, obviously, get your wheel stands. I've put it up on 4 wheel stands. Get it on the wheel stands. Get your liner out so you're exposing your transfer case. This thing here is called transfer case. We need to take that off, but before we do, we're going to drain all the oil out of the gearbox and all the oil out of the engine. The reason I'm taking the oil out of the engine is because I'm messing with the sandwich plate, which is what I'll refer to it as from now on. So yeah, if I wasn't going sort of past the flywheel with this job, I would not be removing the engine oil, but I am, so I don't know what to expect. So and I may have to move oil coolers and so on. This being my oil cooler pipe. There's one oil cooler there. It's got a couple of oil coolers, this thing. Okay, so obviously engine oil. I'll use my little pointer. Engine oil. Okay, and I'm keeping mine. So sorry, that's my mistake. Sorry, I'm looking upside down. Engine oil, the little one, engine oil. It's Motori written on it. It's pretty easy. And cambio, and your gearbox. So you drain your gearbox oil from here. Okay, engine oil from here, and there's just one just there as well, at the bottom of the drop gears, the transfer case. That one there. Undo that one. Yeah. So you fill your oil, your motor oil, from the normal place at the top in your oil filler. But the gearbox you can fill, there's one right there, you can see that there, there's one right there, plug right there, you can fill it from there, and the overflow is behind, and if you've watched, it's just behind there, and it's actually that way, not down. If you've watched the gearbox oil level check video of mine, it shows where it is and how to fill your oil, but I'll get to that. When I get to that, I'll get to that. Anyhow, that's the first things to do. The next thing I'm going to do is let's try and get up. Excuse me if you hear me going and ah. I'm 2.5 months in on an extremely nasty broken ankle, and I've got 6 screws in my right ankle now on that side. So if you hear me, and you can see the swelling, my shoe's not even done up properly. If you hear me going ow and ah, that's what it is. It's not because I'm old. Well, I am old, but you get what I'm getting at. Okay, so I'm going to be removing, the sensors here, the flywheel sensors and so on. Yeah, I'm going to be, just unplugging them and marking them up, taping them up so I know exactly which one goes where. Also, vapor separator here, I believe that's what it is. Oil vapor separator. So I'll be probably moving that. So anything that I think is going to have a problem with this coming this way, obviously this isn't going to be on the that's going to be removed. Okay, so that's going to be the first port of call once I start on the main body of it, is undoing these nuts here and taking that off, exposing the drop gears. I'm not sure if I need to remove this or move this, move this whole unit. It's not that difficult, I don't think, to move. But I want to be careful because these are really expensive and I don't want to damage it. Yeah, I'm really hoping that maybe, I can flex that a bit. Geez, I'm not liking... Can you see that? I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at, but I'm going to zoom into it. Can you see that? I've just noticed that. Look at that. Luckily it's braided. Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it's been like that for a long time, but I'll certainly be doing something about that. I might undo that nut down there, which is at the end of a... hard to see. There it is there. I might undo that and just that one there and just twist that up so that's not sitting like that, because that's got knobs on it. Sorry, never seen that before. It's not leaking, but it will eventually. But anyhow, things you find, when you're playing around with your car. Preventative maintenance. So like I said, move a few ancillaries here and there. I'm going to need to that sucker right there, which is the there he is there, that there. I'm going to have to undo that. That's the slave cylinder, clutch slave cylinder, that's attached to that there, and basically string that up. That's why I've got a bit of string down there ready to go. I'm just going to string that up so I don't have to bleed the clutch at all or anything like that. I've already removed the oil, so I'm basically ready to start pulling this stuff apart. So I'm going to have a look at removing this. I might just undo it there and the bracket just there and remove that completely from the car. I'm just having a good film here just to make sure I know exactly how it all goes back together and I know where everything goes. I'd say that hose there is not connected. No, it's a water hose, that's fine. So it's just that U shape. So it looks like I can undo it from here. So if I was to undo that one and that one, then I can spread this one and this one away and get that completely out of the way. And then most likely, actually now looking at it, that looks like the another type of filter or something. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, it looks like I may have to remove that as well. I doubt it's full of oil or anything. Okay, so anyhow, I'm going to do that and I'll get back to you when I've started to undo this. Okay guys, as you can see, it's taken me about an hour to do what I've just done. Keep in mind that I am nursing a broken ankle, so it might take you a little bit less time. It's very difficult for me to get up and get back down onto the ground again. Nevertheless, as you can see, it's the bell housing is quite open now and free from any obstructions, except for this oil cooler pipe, which at this point I'm going to leave for now. I still want to look at moving it, trying to maybe pivoting that up a little bit, knowing that that's touching the chassis there. So what I want to look at now is taking off this here, and then I'll deal with the bell housing next, obviously. Can't get the bell housing off until you get this bottom sprocket off anyway, cog. So these are, they're 13 mil, but I'm going with a half inch socket. It fits tight, nice. 13 mil moves that little bit on the nut, which it's never desirable. I mean, worst comes to worst, yeah, you can use it, just be careful, but yeah, the half inch definitely fits on there nicely. So they shouldn't be, yeah, that was virtually nothing to undo. Obviously, you know, just tweak them open like that and just working it in your X pattern. I can't get into that one properly, so I'll have to change my extension. I think I was doing that one, was I? Oh, maybe this one. It was this one, wasn't it? Yeah. So as you can see, they're not hard to get undone. They're only 18. I've got that written down. I'm not going to tell you, actually ignore what I just said. I'm not going to tell you just yet because I can't remember. I think it's something like 18 foot-pounds, but I will make sure all the torques are correct. But they're not, it's not a lot of torque. I can't remember now which ones I've done. So I'm just going to quickly just go around like that. And just, yeah, I can hear that ping then, as though it was releasing. So just release them just that little bit. Now they're loose, so should be able to just wind them off. I'm not going to do that on camera. And then when I get to the point of removing this, I'll come back to you guys. Okay guys, a couple of points here. I've got all the nuts off the transfer case. Now, when I was taking like the second last nut off, I noticed, I sort of thought, well, hang on, there's no washer attached to it. I thought they've left a washer out, but they hadn't. I found it. It was on the ground, and there it is. It's in two pieces, so I'll have to replace that. But if you look at the other washer compared to that one, can you see the difference there in the size? It's huge. It's like double. Okay, so just a note, don't swap out your washers for inferior washers and think they're going to do the job, because look at that. Okay, now the pulling this off, it's obviously looking at the seal. There's obviously some kind of goo in there, so pulling this off is not going to be easy. However, what I did was I felt around the edges, and you see these things here, there and there. Well, I noticed that just there was a tiny bit of a lip on this case, higher than the bell housing. So what I did was, this is to break the seal, what I did was I put a screwdriver in here, just very gently, and it didn't take much at all, and I just leave it up against that, and the screwdriver's dropped in, it's already come away. So that's a way of breaking your seal there. Maybe you can get a plastic spatula in there just to scrape it around as you go. But that's the way to do it, and you're probably, looking at it from this side here, you probably can get it like that as well. Yeah, I can. See that? Screwdriver goes in, and it's very gentle. I'm just using, I'm using that kind of force, just a couple of fingers. Okay, so it was really easy to undo in that respect. So that's a win, because I wasn't sure how I was going to get that off. But it's not off yet. I've loosened it, put it that way. Yeah, I've broken the seal. So anyhow, I'll get back to you. Okay guys, that hasn't been a big deal, to be truthfully honest. That little screwdriver trick that I showed you a second ago worked really well. I then got one of these, very, very carefully, just put it in here, gave it a tweak, and this side gave it a tweak, just a slight turn of the wrist, and you can see there it's actually moving now. So on camera, I'm going to pull this off. Look at that, it's coming off. Sweet. Here it is. Maybe a bit of oil, tiny bit of oil, and there we go. Watch out for your thrust races in here. Just be careful of that. There it is. Aren't they sweet? They do look sweet. So this is the one I have to take off. That's the one I need my little tool for. RNT 45. Looking at it, what I've noticed with a lot of that's definitely not factory, that one. That's clearly not factory. That's huge. Look at that. It's nice and tight, but geez, I wouldn't have a socket to get that off even if I needed to. Luckily I don't at this point. But as you can see, this one here, this has been reused, and I noticed that a lot on any kind of video you see on this type of work. These nuts tend to get reused. They're about, from memory, I think you're looking at about 30-40 Australian dollars or something like that for one of those. Don't quote me, but it's something like that. They're not cheap, but like, you know, look how important they are. Look where they are. So is it worth getting a new one? Yeah, I think so, rather than try and bash that out and try and tap it in again. So obviously it's been bashed in before here. Okay, and then they've moved it around and bashed it in again. Now what I don't like about that idea is these are torqued to like 147 foot-pound, I believe, so they're torqued a fair bit. That's like something like 200 newton meters around about, I'm pretty sure. So for it to have gone, you know, to there, how much more torque or less torque have they put in that to get that nut back exactly where it should be? That's concerning. So the next thing I'm going to do is tap these tabs out to allow the nut to spin. Put the nut on there, the tool on there, nice long extension, and crack that open. This gear, by rights, should just slip out when necessary. So I've seen the trick to put a rag in here to lock up the gears for undoing this anti-clockwise. Alright, I'm going to get that done and get back to you. Oh, and just a point, you can see here, you can't see it much on here, but you can see here some glue was used. You can see, I don't know, it comes up very well on the camera, but it's greenish colour. I'll see if I can try and get it on an angle where you can see it. It's a bit difficult to see, but trust me, there is a goo. It's really not showing. You can sort of see its colour there. So there is a silicone. There was a silicone on there of some kind, or sealer, not necessarily silicone, or a sealer. Not a lot, but you might be able to see it just there, a little bit there above my thumb. Yeah, so not a lot, but that was pretty easy to get off. Anyhow, I'll get back to you. Okay, a small lesson. When pinging this in, okay, don't do it like this, where you're bashing it right in there. It doesn't need it, as long as it's in there, as long as it's not going to move. But just remember think about the bloke who's got to try and get it off. You know what I'm saying? Now, I haven't even undone that yet. Okay, I've just pinged this one a little bit. Okay, watch this. Remember what I was saying about the torques? Look at that. Frickin' crazy. Anyway, new nut coming. Alright, I'm going to keep working on trying to get this out. So when you do, this is hardened, but I mean, just be really careful not to damage things. I tend to use something flat for this kind of job rather than pointed, but because it will damage the nut, the flange here, but this is not going to be used again. So I'm thinking when I ping it in, I'll use on the new one, I'll use a flat piece to ping it in. But on this one, I think I'm going to get something in here and try and wedge that out, because that's really shoved in there. So it's a bit of a pain, but I'll get it. See you soon. So that was 20 minutes wasted. Pain in the, well, not wasted, but a pain in the ass. Took 20 minutes longer than it should have. pinging out these tabs. Okay, now all I've done is ping out those tabs. Okay, and I can undo that by hand. You can see that there. It's just hooked up a little bit right now, which I'll get my tool out. But that's how loose it was. So how on earth is that 147 foot-pounds? Impossible. So bodgies, yeah? We say in Australia, bodge. That's bodgy. Bodge can actually be a term of something that's good, you know, cool, sweet, that sort of thing. But if you say it's bodgy, put a Y on the end, yeah, it means it's suspect. Anyway, I'm going to get my ring tool on that. I paid £50 for it, so I'm glad I can use it. Obviously I'm going to use it to put it back on, but not this one, not this nut. But yeah, at least I can use my tool, because that's just rubbish. Anyway, once I've undone that, I mean this one here, you can literally, the center one should just come out. Yeah, there you go. See, it's starting to come out. Now just watch out for these bearings here, okay? And you know, you could replace them if you think they're suspect, but just be careful they don't fall off and start getting bent or bounce or anything. But that one just comes off. It just basically comes off like that. And you can see it's exactly the same there. So I'm really making sure I get that in shot. If I can just bring, oops, wrong way, bring the camera out. So I'm just going to place that back in and just let it sit there for a second, because I really want to make sure that I've got that round the right way when I go to put it back in. So I want to mark it in some way. Probably with a paint pen, like that. Got that on camera, so I know I'm going to put it back in exactly the same way. There we go. Okay, alright, well I'll get that nut off. I'll get this one out. Go and touch the paint, that's smart, Mark. And get back to you for the next steps. Okay, I've got that nut off. The plot thickens. This is just downright disgusting what I'm about to show you. I went to put the tool onto the nut and it wouldn't fit on, and I thought, crap, 45 R&T 45, I know that's the right one. You can probably see it there, somewhere there anyway. Look, it's the right one, it's the 45, yeah? You can just see it there above my thumb, upside down, 45, yeah? So it's the right one, okay? And, you know, this is the right nut, okay? Nice, nice, nice. What the f is going on here? Look at that. What? It's like they've welded. They put a little bit of weld in there, and then you can see there's a, you know, some kind of grinder's been on that or something like that. You can see there where the black paint's missing. So if I turn that over, check this out. There's the nut. Fits in only, I'm trying to do this one hand, I'm holding the camera in my hand, so I'm a little bit uncut at the moment. Look at that. Can you see that? Fits, fits, fits. Computer says no. Look at that. There's no way that was going in there. So the torque gods were on my side today, because I basically twisted that off as it was like that. That's all it needed. I could almost take it off by hand. I just didn't, there's some of these edges are sharp, I just didn't want to cut a finger. I've already got a blood blister right there, as you can see. so I didn't want to cut finger. So I stuck that on just to twist it off without a socket on there, and it came off. But look at that. If that was 147 foot-pound, which I believe is what it is, man, there's no way I would have got that off without having to deal with that. Who does this kind of shit? Crikey Moses. Anyway, that's one for the books. New nut coming up. Oh, and by the way, while I'm right here, I always print off pages when I'm working on the manual and so on. So that's basically what I've been taking off this and so on to remove the bell housing off. Okay, so all of this here is all got to come off, and I've got to get that sucker off. But this is the sandwich plate that I was talking about. Separation plate or sandwich plate. This is the gasket that I need. So I'm going to do that gasket. I'm going to do a new pilot bearing, and I'm going to do a new main seal, obviously, which goes in that circle there, just above that main seal there. So that's basically what I'm going to replace. I have no idea when I take this off what's going to be the go. I have no idea. But anyway, that's all secondary. Getting the bell housing off, getting the clutch out, and getting to the flywheel and getting the flywheel off. That's my mission. That there is just a whole nother part B to the exercise. But anyhow, I'll look at getting that sprocket off now. That should be fun. I've got some pullers, but I'm not sure which kind of puller is going to work. I was told that in the newer models they have a couple of holes in the sprocket or in the cog to be... Oh! Did you see that? Did you see that? Look. Seriously, I had no idea that was going to do that. I've got my finger by it. That's coming off. There's no... Wow, okay, second win. There's no need for a puller on that one. Wow, how easy was that? I was concerned about that. I was even going to make a puller. Wow. Okay, so let's take the middle one off. Okay, and once again I just dropped the thrust race there, or should I say that? I think that's what they are. And then look at this, boom, off it comes. Wow, that was easy. Okay, so I'm going to place that down that way because that's the top. Yeah, you see there, they're different. It's different. So this side faces the engine, the flat side faces you. Okay, so there's a ring clip in here. Need some circlip pliers or ring clip pliers to get that out, and then you should be able to hook that bearing out. So basically pull that clip out, hook that bearing, pull that bearing out, and then there's a couple more little things in there that I will show you as I go. So I'll get those two things out first, and then show you, explain how I did that, and then look at the next two little pieces in there. Cool. See you soon. Okay, you're going to need a set of, get them in shot, of these. Okay, circlip pliers that pull in. Yeah, ring clip, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully, I'm sort of on a bit of an angle here because oh, we don't want that. I nearly had it then. Oh, come on. I've got it. There it is. Okay, so that's how you get that sucker out. Okay. Then we need a hook. I believe my hook is in my trolley, so I have to stand Yes, it was. We just need to hook this and try and hook him out. This might take a sec to get this out. You don't want to damage it, obviously. Take a little bit. I might need to hook on this side and on that side. I'll get back to you when I won't let you watch me struggle, and I'll get back to you when I've pulled that out. But it should just basically just slip out. Okay, be back. Hey guys, I'm back. For you, it was probably a couple of seconds. For me, since the last time I saw you, it's been 3.5 hours. I've only just got that bearing off that I was getting off. Ta-da, here it is. 3.5 hours to pull it out. I even made a puller which failed. I made this puller and that still failed. Couldn't get it out. It was so tight. The puller probably took me about an hour to make. Thought I was on a winner. Now, remember we talked about this? Reusing old crap. Okay. So what do you reckon when they put that on? That was the original bearing. Now, there's nothing wrong with using a bearing again if it's good. Nothing wrong with that, especially one of these. £150 for one of these. Okay, looks great, doesn't it? Look at it now. Can you see what I'm looking at? That's not a circle. Look at that. It was damaged a little bit coming out. There's no two ways about it. To pull this bearing out, heat, cold, pullers, shoving things in there, all sorts of things to pull this bearing out. I sort of made a choice. I did notice there was, this kind of nicking just there above my thumb, just there. I did notice there was that kind of thing even when I first started, right there, that little. So I thought, it's going to be suspect as it is because there's already, it was damaged. I could see damage there before I even started. So they've had trouble getting it out before, so because they've had trouble getting it out, they've probably damaged it. So then when they've put it back in, I don't know, it was tight as, I've never known one to be so tight. It was just full on. So, new bearing, because there's just no way that's going on. Bit disappointing, but oh well, at least when I put it back in there, I know it's going to be spot on so I can sleep well, because there's no putting this one back on. There is just no way. That bearing is trashed. And unfortunate because it's probably one of the most expensive bearings on the entire car. I just have to do it. Let's just hope I don't need to replace my clutch, so I'll save a bit of money there. But anyhow, 2 trashed pieces. We shall continue. So basically now that I've got that off, you can see there, I've just got that ring that ring clip just hanging there. That was just hanging there, so I'll put that down there. So this is that collar, so it goes that way. It's a bit warm because I've had some heat on this. So see that little indent goes in, it goes all the way down to the back. Now that little silver ring that you see in there should have a bite on it. Should I say a gap on it? Is that it there? Okay, so you just got to spread that and that little ring comes off. Okay, so that ring sits on the inside of that and stops this from going any further in. So technically you can't push the bearing in too far, but yeah. Geez, I hope I don't have to do one of those again in a hurry, because that was a mongrel to get off. Okay, and even there, at the bottom there, there's a lip. Can you see that lip at the bottom there? Just there above my finger. So that stops the bearing from going any further anyway. My view is tap your bearing in just until you can get this ring clip on. Yeah, so tap it in, have a look, see if that gap's there, and just as you can put that ring clip on, stop. Don't push your bearing in any further. That's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I'm going to pull that little sucker out in there with these things here, wrong ones. These ones, if they fit, there they are, if they fit, and I'll pull him out. And then I can start undoing the bell housing from around all the bell housing nuts, like that one there, and so on. Okay, I'll get that done and I'll get back to you. Hey guys, I'm back. It's been another hour and a half since I saw you last. Yes, this took an hour and a half to get off. I had to adjust a number of circlip pliers to make this work. Wow. Be careful with this one, because there's nothing behind the shaft. It's like it sits like it's on my finger there. So it's in the recess. So if you spring it out and it doesn't spring forward of the recess that it sits in, it will spring back, and it does it more times than not, and it will go inside the bell housing right up to the back of the engine there like that. And you'll have to get a magnet and get it back out, which isn't too difficult, but it's a pain in the ass. So yeah, put a hook around it. Put a hook around it as you finally get a pair of pliers that will actually work, because this thing is strong. See how strong? I can't even close that. Oh, that's all my strength there between my thumb and my forefinger. You know, I can't even close it. That's how strong that is. So it takes a fair bit of pressure to open it up. And as you can see, I've been adjusting pliers. Crude, but it worked. Finally, I've had enough today. I'm not taking the bell housing off today. I might undo the nuts, but that's about it. So ring tool, nut, then your circlip, then your and then your ring, and then this sucker. So this here sits inside that, in that recess, see that? So it stops that from going any further. That then stops the bearing. So it's tapered. I don't know if you can see that in shot, but it's tapered that way. So it goes down. So it's smaller diameter here than it is here. So then that goes in, and that sits there like that. Then your clip goes in, and then your tool. Sorry, your nut. And I've just about lost my nut with this job today so far. But that's how it works, okay? So you've got to take your nut off, take that. You pull this out if you can. I've seen it come out with a little hook like this. Yeah, well, not mine. And of course then this just slips off. This is the easiest thing. This does just slip off. And then you've got this little sucker. So my advice, get some really good, strong circlip pliers to get that ring off. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to undo the bolts to the bell housing, and maybe even look at breaking the bell housing free, and then I'm going to pack up and have something to eat, because it's 3 p.m. here, and I started this job at 8 a.m. So it's been all day just to get this done. And that's not draining the oil or jacking the car up. I did all that yesterday. So I jacked the car up and drained the oils yesterday to get myself ready for this morning. So literally it's just been this job here So getting the transfer case, the drop gear transfer case cover off, and getting these off. That's it. I don't know how many hours that is, but it's a lot of wasted time, especially with this sucker here. This took about 3 hours to get off. Ridiculous. And it's trashed. So there's no way that's going back on my Ferrari. So 300 Australian dollars, here I come, but it's going to be 300 bucks well spent. Anyway, these were, I saw them, they're £27, so they're not cheap. So that's about $50 Australian. But worth it. So 350 bucks, just plus shipping, just to get all this back on. How's that, eh? Even if I stopped now and turned around, I'd still have to spend $350. All right, cool. I'll get back to you. Okay, guys, under the wheel arch again. I've disconnected the starter motor. You can see there's one, there's two, and the bottom one is behind here. You can sort of just see it, I think. I'll let it focus. It is there. Believe me, there he is. You can just see it. Okay, 3 bolts, pretty easy. Here they are here. Top two, yeah. This shorter one. The shorter one is from behind that one. So it's the bottom one. Okay. Be careful because they go into aluminium. Okay, so 3 starter motor bolts. I'll put them there for now. So I've been undoing these. The large ones are 17mm. Okay, I've just tweaked them all undone, and then I'll bring them all off. I sort of did it in a X pattern again, but just be mindful that there are some 13mm bolts. So there's a good shot there where you've got one of each. There's 13mm and 17mm, and you just work your way around. There's one behind here. Where are we? There's one behind there. That's a 13mm. Most of the ones at the bottom are 13mm, these ones here. And then it starts to go 17mm through the top. Of course, that one's out already because that was holding a bracket of the vapor separator. That was the vapor separator, not this one that was here. I forget what that was. Little silver thing. But the vapor separator is still on the car. I've just moved it up and out of the way, and as you can see, I've tied various, sorry for the excellent camera work, I've tied various things away and disconnected what I had to, and have marked things as well. Covered that thrust race in there, that bearing I should say inside there, where the thrust races are on the actual bearing cog itself, which is stored. So it's looking pretty clear. This is my only concern, but I'm looking at moving it anyway because I want to tilt it. I want to see if I can tilt that up so this points up instead of horizontal as it is. So it points up a bit, so it kind of lifts that pipe away from there because like I showed earlier in the video, that's just not cricket, as we say. Okay, so I'm going to go around and take all those bolts off, nuts I should say, and yeah, so of course the slave cylinder is disconnected and wired up so it can't just fall out if it's the new style, which it looks like the old one anyway. So, but anyway, we don't want that falling out. Okay, and then you never know, I might be enthused enough to see how this goes, and that's worrying me. But we'll see how enthused I go about actually removing the bell housing today. We'll see. But I'm certainly not doing the sandwich plate today. That bearing in there, yeah. Haven't had that much trouble with something with cars for a long time. That did my head in. But patience and just keep a cool head and you think clearly. When you start getting frustrated and emotion kicks in, you tend to cloud your thinking, and it makes the job even harder. So out of perseverance I got it out. Once I'd made the decision, it looked like I was going to buy a new one. I went hard on it and thought, well, it doesn't matter if I do extra damage to it. But you can see here, there's little bits there. I've not done this. I've seen a lot of this damage I've seen. It's just bodgies. People doing crap. Anyhow, enough waffling. I'll get that done and I'll get back to you. Okay guys, all nuts are off, and I've loosened it and pulled it back, so she's about to come off. As you can see, there's my homemade puller. Look, it took me maybe not more than 10 minutes, to make this out of a bit of just scrap pine that I had around. Do it. It is just so much easier. You put your foot there, you grab it here, and you give it a wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Now, what I also did was I pulled it out and I noticed the bottom part of it came out first and the top was still closed. So I removed the flywheel position indicator plate, that thing there. Okay, I removed that, and what I did was I got a piece of wood and just gently put it, it's hard to see because the light's not that great now, but I put it just against the body of the sorry, can't really see it, but it's down there. I'll see if I can get some light. I put it against the body of the bell housing. Here we go, that's going to help. And I gave it a tap, so there's the hole there. Okay, I know it's a bit difficult to see, but I'm sure you know what I mean. And I put it against the body of that. I'll see if I can get a different angle. It's really difficult to film this bit. But yeah, I don't think I can see it. No matter how much I try, I cannot get it. I'm sorry guys. Maybe that's the closest I can get to it. There. But anyhow, so basically, you know how this sits. Okay, so I've removed that, and then there's that hole, like that. So I put the wood against here, like that, against that part there, and given it a tap to bring the top out, and it came off. It was really, really easy. And you can see there by the marking just there, that's all it took to give that little tap, and that is pine, so I could put my fingernail in that. So yeah, sweet. So I'm going to set the camera up now and then pull the bow housing off as we go live. See you in a sec. Okay, I'm back. So I'm going to attempt to pull this off with the camera right next to me, literally next to my left shoulder. Thing I'm concerned about is I haven't moved that pipe. You can't see it in shot, but the oil cooler pipe, I haven't moved that yet. I didn't have a spanner to fit on one side. I got 32mm to get on one, but I haven't got like a 30mm to fit on the other. So I'm going to be very conscious. I don't want to crease that pipe. I may even be able to put something in there just to brace that up, I don't know. But I'll see if I can avoid. So as you can see, she's moving, but I think that pipe is going to play a big role in this. Yeah, it's that pipe that's causing the stop. So yeah, this if I can just get it in shot. Yeah, it's this pipe here. It's causing the problem. It's just hooking up on this corner. I really need to be able to lift that and undo this one here. So I'm going to concentrate on undoing this first and then pull that off. I shall get back to you. Okay guys, I think I've cleared this pipe. I can't undo this for the life of me. I really don't. For just a bit of manipulation up here, I really don't want to undo it, or the one at the engine, the other side of this, just for this, unless I really had to, because I just don't want any nightmares of breaking something here on this oil cooler. Look, it's just about there. It's hung up on something, I believe, but it's so close. I think it's just, there it is. It's free. Now if I can get underneath it, out, and then I can drop it down. And good to see some O-rings. And one clutch. Well, pressure plate anyway. There it is. Okay, so she's in my hand. Completely loose of the car, as you can see. And see this thing here? Make one. Doesn't take long. So I'm just going to tilt it forward. Get my leg out. It's heavy, but it's not. There goes the thrust bearing. It's heavy, but it's not ridiculous. I'm just going to gently place it down. Put the thrust bearing back on. Grindy grind. Looks like I'm up for a thrust bearing as well. Okay. And yeah. Whew, there it is. Look, I've got to be honest with you. I think I shall. It's not going to make any difference to you guys, but I think I'm going to do the clutch tomorrow. Pressure plate and clutch. I think I'll do that tomorrow. Where are we? There we go. I can't even see what I'm filming. Yeah, I'm going to do the clutch tomorrow. Tonight I'll sit down and relax and do some research and suss out what I need parts wise and so on. There's an O-ring there. Jeez, that O-ring, I could probably break it off there. I'm going to leave it there for now to remind me. It needs an O-ring there. There's another one there. You can see that in shot. Another O-ring down the bottom. Down there. Right there. Can you see that? There it is. That's better. Yeah, just there. Another O-ring. And there should be one more. There should be three. 1, 2, 3. I'll be renewing those anyway. I think that's an O-ring there, and it's so squished and hard that I think it's actually on, like stuck on the block or the sandwich plate, which is what I'm going to take off next. Well, after the clutch, flywheel, then the sandwich plate. Okay, at least I can get in there a lot more now and really see what it's all about. But anyhow, that's it for right now, and I'll be back in a minute, but it will be another day. Cheers.